If you played Genshin Impact, there's a chance that you've seen this artwork. It's the cover art for a popular lo-fi Genshin playlist, and it's simply a drawing of Barbara from Mondstadt doing an in-game expression against a sunset. There's just something magical about the mix of music, pose, and color within this video that gives me a feeling difficult to explain. It really encapsulates what playing Genshin Impact felt like for me. Running around with the original gang, fighting monsters, exploring, and watching the sunset. So today, I decided to make an anime figure of Barbara in order to bring this scene to life. Which is an odd idea, isn't it? My channel has no history of anime or Genshin Impact or anything related to girls, but whatever, I think it'll be fun. So if you're interested in this idea, stick around and let's see how it goes. Making Genshin anime figures, huh? Making figures in general seems extremely difficult. That's probably why they cost a fortune. I mean, you probably need expensive machinery to get the objects into this shape, and professional sculptors or painters. I don't know how they make anime figures. But I thought long and deeply about this. Genshin is a 3D game. Barbara makes this pose in the game. Why can't I just convert this to a 3D model and print it? Of course, it's not that simple. I don't think I can get this in-game pose of Barbara without being a hacker or something, but I could probably access the model of Barbara since other people have done it a million times. I'll search up Genshin models for download, and what would you know? The official Genshin page has them. All I have to do now is open it up in a 3D program and pose it. In this instance, I'm using Blender because it's free. I'll just import it along with a reference and play around with these bony thingies until I get the similar pose. This is my first time doing something like this, so it was quite the adventure. When posing was finished, I converted the model to a solid object and realized it was very low poly, which makes sense. It's a game and models can't be too detailed. Genshin already breaks my computer. So we have to add the detail back in. But before we do that, we should take the opportunity to divide up the model, which makes it easier to work with according to my extensive research. Dividing the body up meant a lot of extra work though, because I had to select every single vertice of each part of the body, which sometimes became a mess. At some point, the posing ruined her outfit, which also made a mess. This should have been an easy fix. Replacing a square piece of cloth on a character should be a simple task, but you have to understand that I am an amateur. For reference, I have only made 2 3D modeling videos on this channel, which is like nothing. I'm not a 3D modeler. But even then, anyone can learn along the way, which is what we are all doing right now. After dividing up most of the model, it is still low poly because we didn't change anything, so details have to be added back. The easiest way to do this is with sculpting. Sculpting allows you to add in vertices back into the model, allowing you to make more details. I'll turn these objects into sculptable ones using the remesh feature. One important thing I do is making sure the mesh is actually solid and not a thin piece of paper. Then I smooth everything out and added details. If you want to start making anime figures, don't ask me for help. I'm still a beginner. But I would recommend trying out sculpting. It's pretty easy to get into since it doesn't require too much knowledge of all this crap. Even I'm not too educated on the tools and settings of Blender. For example, some reason these holes occurred when I was converting the dress into a sculpting object, and the inside of the dress had dents from my brush strokes. But even then, I'm still able to do a decent job because sculpting is pretty simple, even if you don't know the tools. For symbols like these, I hand drew them since I was sculpting with a drawing tablet. Next time though, I will probably just use an image to imprint the design instead of doing it by hand. Either way, the model was coming together. When I was finished with the sculpt, it looked pretty professionally made, which I was proud of. Now I just had to make the model assemblable. Remember, I was planning on 3D printing it. From the research I had done, anime figures have to connect with pegs like this, so I added them in with some cubes to put everything together. Then I exported it into an STL file and 3D printed it. For anime figures, you can only print them with good detail on resin 3D printers, so that's what I did. Unfortunately, I ended up losing the footage of me printing the whole entire figure, and at this point it's pretty much impossible to get it back. This is because, to tell you the truth, this figure was made 2 years ago. And finding some footage that I recorded 2 years ago is kind of difficult. But that brings up another question. Why was this figure made 2 years ago? And the thing is, I just never decided to edit and upload the video. At the time, I made videos based on war, tanks, and the military. But if I posted a video on anime figures, what would my audience think? What would my friends think? I mean, what kind of teen gains popularity for liking anime figures? I was too scared to make this video, so I didn't. But now, several years have passed, and I gained the confidence to post a video because I realized that the fear that I had was just limiting my creative potential. I can enjoy both tanks and anime, and who can really tell me otherwise? The printing went great is a lie. I didn't know what size anime figures I liked because I never had any. So the first time I printed it too small, and now there's a pair of tiny legs sitting at my desk. Afterwards, I settled on 1/10 scaling for my anime figures, and I will continue to use this scale because it makes math much easier. Another issue was that my parts kept breaking. At the time, I didn't know how brittle 3D printing resin was, and a lot of my first prints kept snapping. On the bright side, the successful prints turned out incredible. Everything looked so smooth as if it was carved out of stone, and it's hard to believe that I made this at my house as a dorky 17-year-old. Here I'm just tidying up the model with some sandpaper and a knife. Now we're in the painting process. I am a noob. I have to keep reminding you that. So I had to learn by following this anime figure artist to learn how to paint anime figures. These people are smart and they use airbrushes and paint primer, so I did as well, which made me go bankrupt. This was my first time using any of these, so it was quite the experience. I came to realize that this primer sucks. It kept peeling off and the paint did not stick well. And the problems didn't end there. Things broke off, like this hairpiece, and certain pieces like this hat did not fit together perfectly. I had to reprint even more pieces to fix these issues. To get accurate colors, I printed an image of Barbara and used it as reference. I'm using cheap acrylic paints, and I had to mix and match until I got the right color. But in hindsight, I could have been more creative and chose my own colors to make her more vibrant. However, painting was fun despite the bumps in the road. For the reprinted pieces, I completely ditched using the primer because the paint stuck better to the print without the primer, which doesn't make a lick of sense. Primer is supposed to help the paint stick, not prevent the paint from sticking. It's like I bought anti-primer. From this point on, I'm only using brushes because it turned out to be much easier than an airbrush. So from that, I used a technique called glazing in order to make these gradients or fake shadows. Glazing is basically painting on thin layers of colors to make a gradient, and it really helps the figure feel more realistic. Soon, it was time to assemble the entire model with some trusty superglue. Of course, in certain areas, resin wouldn't let me get a perfect fit, so a blade was used to shave off some pieces. It's days like these where I wake up early to paint an anime figure in my backyard that I enjoy the most. It's also days like these where I hate those damn bumps in the road. Turns out the matte sealer I got was anti-matte. If you didn't know, sealers are used to protect the paint from scratches, and matte sealers make the surface that you spray have no reflections like a piece of paper. Basically, the opposite of glossy. But this spray made my model glossy. Why? How the frick do I keep getting shitty products? Now Barbara looks like a modern version of those religious figures, but maybe they are the same thing, actually. I ended up using an actual matte coat with the airbrush, and it worked great. The main body has been protected, but there are some details I wanted to be glossy, or in this case, shiny. I can't express how proud I am of this figure. I do admit there are some flaws, such as the odd facial expression or how the clothes doesn't feel that wavy, but it was a beautiful first try. If you want a figure like this, you can offer me $500 and I might comply, but the easier option is to just make one yourself. I will be posting this model for free to download in the description below. And yes, it is completely free. I've made it my policy to freely share models so that people have no limitations on their creativity. However, if you are feeling generous, you can pay for the model anyways on Sketchfab. Either way, I'm glad to start my anime figure collection, despite the negative stigma behind it. It's a fun and unique process to make these things, and I will definitely continue to make these types of videos if you guys enjoy them. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember to create some more fun.